Hello, I Anand Jain from Hanumangarh, Rajasthan welcomes you to your favorite Shridevi Classes YouTube channel where we inculcate interest and confidence in science, engineering and management subjects. Today in our subject project management we will understand estimation of project cost and understand what is direct cost, what is indirect cost and what are contingencies in cost estimation. We'll also understand direct and indirect cost component of material and labor cost. At the same time, we'll also understand what is fixed cost, what is variable cost in total cost. So let's understand project cost estimation. Project cost is the one of the most important aspect of project management, like scope and time schedule of project. Project cost refers to total amount of money that will be required to complete all the tasks and desired deliverable of the project successfully. Now the cost of project is influenced by several factors such as project scope, time schedule, quality and the risk involved in project execution. For a project, the total project cost include all the expenses that are associated with project, including direct cost, indirect cost such as labor, material, equipment, overhead charges, lump sum cost, permit charges and other fees and contingencies and some other expenses. Accurate estimation of cost of project or cost estimation is essential for financial management of any project. The cost estimation process involves identification and quantification of all the cost component associated with the project. This cost estimation is usually done during the planning phase of the project, and in the planning phase different direct indirect costs are estimated and contingencies are associated to get the total cost of the project. Several techniques are used in cost estimation. One is historical data analysis, other are expert judgment or parametric modeling. In historic data analysis, we use data of similar type of project and compare those data with our current project and get an idea of estimated cost of our current project on comparison basis, and this comparison on previous similar type of project is called as historical data analysis. Another way of cost estimation is expert judgment. It involves consulting with subject matter experts to determine the cost of various aspects of project. The scope of project is well defined. A detailed design, all connected drawings and specifications are prepared, and then different quantities of material and services are calculated as per specification, and from market survey the rates for the same supply of material and services is obtained, and item wise total cost is calculated, and summation of all those will give us total material and labor cost, and then we add contingency on it to get the total cost. This is making a judgment based on skill, expertise or specialized knowledge of experts on their respective areas, and based on those we can make estimation of project cost. Another scientific method is parametric modeling, which is a 3D computer aided design solid approach. Parametric modeling use mathematical model of our project to estimate cost of the project based on specific variables involved in product design, and mathematical manipulation by parametric modeling gives us estimated cost of project. One good way to find out project cost is to find out different component of project cost such as direct cost, indirect cost and contingency component of cost, and project cost is divided among these three categories, where direct cost are those expenses that directly related to production activity of project, whereas general expenses, business expenses or other costs which are not directly connected to project production are known as indirect cost. We will soon see that direct material of project, the cost of direct involvement of labor or direct wages are direct cost, whereas rent, office expenses, indirect wages are indirect cost. So let's understand first direct cost, then indirect cost and then what is contingency. Direct costs are those costs that are directly associated with the project and can be attributed to specific activity or task of the project. We can say direct costs are strictly liable and perceptible for the production of project results. There is a direct connection between activity of project execution and associated cost with them, and those costs are called as a direct cost. Example of direct cost include direct labor, which is salary and wages, cost of all employees directly connected to project activities; direct material, which is cost of equipment and material used in project execution; and cost of manufacturing supplies associated with production of project results. Other direct costs include outsourcing work of contractor, and cost of those contractor work is again direct cost on project. Similarly, logistic charges and project development cost to complete project also become a part of direct cost. Direct costs are typically quantifiable. The quantity of direct cost component and rate of those components both are easily estimated, and one can find out quantifiable amount of direct cost. Now such direct costs are estimated with reasonable accuracy, and such direct costs include the cost of wages and salaries of professional working on the project. They may be company employees or employees provided by outsourced contractor or some freelancers working on the project. Direct costs include equipment cost of those tools and machines which are used by company employees or employees of contractor or freelancers and used to finish the project. So all equipment used by different professional working on the project cost some amount, and that cost is called as direct cost on the project. Every project need physical material to accomplish its project deliverables, and such material cost is treated as direct project cost. Some management people are directly involved on the task of typical project, and such task mean to facilitate project completion within time schedule according to specified requirement of scope are known as project management task, and cost of those project management task is direct cost on project. Similarly, engineering tasks which are required for research, design work or installation of equipments in order to finish the project are engineering tasks, and cost of engineering tasks on a particular project is also a direct cost. Similarly, freight and transportation for material or equipment handling is also termed as direct cost on the project. Indirect costs are those costs that cannot be directly attributed to project task but are incurred in the course of carrying out the project. Indirect cost cannot be attributed to a particular project, but many a times such costs are used in two or more projects of the company. For instance, the money spent on project management software by a company that is used for many projects in an organization can be treated as indirect cost to all the projects that use that software. Indirect costs include cost of top administration, such as cost of project manager salary or higher official salary, or the cost of project office. All are indirect costs. The cost of overheads, such as cost of rent, traveling expenses, utilities used in project work, such as water, electricity, office supplies, postage, telephone and communication charges, advertising and other promotional activity. All these overheads are indirect cost on project. Insurance, taxes involved in project activities are also become indirect cost on project. Cost of financing, such as cost of interest on loans, depreciation of fixed assets of the company, the cost of equity which is used for project financing, various taxes, cost of legal services, and some bad debts which are very difficult to recover all fall into this category of indirect costs on project. Indirect cost of project are generally more difficult to quantify as direct costs, where the quantity of material, labor, and their rates both are predictable, whereas the same is not possible with indirect cost components. But these indirect costs are still as important as direct cost as component of total project cost. If one fails to account for indirect cost, then that can lead to budget overruns and may result in delay in project executions. Normally, such indirect cost or overheads are taken as 10 to 15% of total estimated direct cost, and this 10 to 15% of direct cost is added to project cost as indirect cost. Two most significant cost component on any project are material costs and labor cost, and both material and labor costs have both direct cost component and indirect cost component. Let's first understand labor cost. These are the costs associated with the time and effort that is required to complete a project, and labor cost include wages, salaries, benefit, allowances, and overtime charges of all employees used for project work and tasks. The labor cost is also broken into direct labor cost as well as indirect labor cost. Direct labor cost is wages that are incurred in order to produce goods and services as deliverable of projects. The total amount of direct labor cost also include the payroll tax the company paid, medical insurance, life insurance, workers compensation insurance, and any company matched pension contribution and other company benefits given to its employees. Indirect labor cost include payments that are made in respect of time paid by employees, but they are not working on project, just are ideal for the time being, but we have to make payment for that, and that become indirect labor cost. All bonuses and gratuities paid to employees is also indirect labor cost. The cost of food, drink, and other payments in kind are indirect labor cost. The cost of worker housing borne by employer, the social security expenditures made by employer, the cost of employer for vocational training of its labor and other welfare services, and miscellaneous activities such as transportation of worker clothes, the cost of recruitment, together with applicable taxes, are regarded as indirect labor cost. And these costs are actually paid by employer, but they are not directly connected to task or production activity of any project. So they are indirect labor costs. Along with labor, another key component of project cost is material cost. These material costs are costs associated with all the material which are required to complete the project, including all raw materials, products, supplies, and equipment, including rental or purchase cost, maintenance or repair cost, are called as material cost. Now, like labor cost, material cost is also broken into direct material cost and indirect material cost. One can quantify and appreciate direct material cost connected with project activities and tasks, but material handling cost that consist of freight charges of all type of goods, that is equipment and material, to different project positions are basically indirect material cost. Likewise, insurance of material, cost of custom clearance, and other local levies are basically indirect material cost. Apart from direct cost and indirect cost, we have some contingency cost on project. These contingencies are certain emergency or unforeseen expenses that may be possibly happen in the future, but are not possible to predict with reasonable accuracy beforehand. These contingency cost or expenditure includes cost caused by project delays or by mismanagement of material and labor, or minor accidents in project execution, or some natural calamities, or cost overruns in terms of material cost or labor cost. Sometimes even currency fluctuations may cause variation in project cost. There may be error in some execution or planning, and that involve some redo works, and such unexpected redo works need some cost, and that cost can be treated as contingency cost. Similarly, we offer contractual warranties and guarantees in our project activity, and for that we have to pay some cost, and such costs are known as contingency cost, as they are unforeseen expenses but are not predictable. Additional emergency expenses that may incur on project due to increase in cost of material or labor rates are also covered in contingencies. Contingency cost is estimated based on previous experience by the experts or by risk simulation analysis results, or they can be obtained as per company procedure or rules. Usually, for such contingency cost, 3 to 5% of all summation of direct cost are set aside to cover those unexpected events or risk that may occur during the project accomplishment as additional expenses called as contingencies. Now this 3 to 5% of direct cost amount is sufficient to fully compensate the additional material cost, labor rates and other allied expenses which could not be considered under any other direct or indirect cost expenditure head. So we can say cost of project is total of all items of outlay associated with a project and which are supported by long-term fundings by company who are executing that project. It is very crucial that cost of project is accurately estimated, as underestimation of project cost will lead to shortage of fund in project execution, and overestimation of project cost will lead to not utilization of available fund, and this idle of funds also makes adverse impact on profitability of the organization. For cost estimation, the total cost of any project is sum of direct costs, indirect cost and contingency cost. For example, if on any project the direct cost is rupee 50,000 and all indirect costs are rupee 20,000 and contingency cost are rupee 5,000, then the total project cost is sum of direct cost, indirect cost and contingency, and this sum will give us the total project cost equal to rupees 75,000. Now the total cost of any project can be obtained as sum of two cost component. One is fixed cost, which won't change with amount of production in project, whereas the other cost is variable cost, and sum of fixed and variable cost will become total cost of project for a specific value of production activity. Fixed costs of project are those costs that do not change regardless of the volume of work being done in project. Now example of such fixed costs are salaries of higher management, and one has to pay salary to higher management whatsoever the project activity undertaken by the organization at any moment. So such salary of higher management is a part of fixed cost. Now all rent paid by company or insurance charges paid by company won't depend upon volume of work being done by company and are treated as fixed cost. Now such fixed costs are an essential component of project cost management and they should be carefully considered during project planning. For example, if a company have small volume of work, then its fixed cost also be limited to a small amount, otherwise the company profitability become doubtful. And if a company got a high volume of work, then it can increase its fixed cost share in project execution. Variable costs are those costs that change depending upon volume of work being done. This increase or decrease in variable cost will take place when a company change its amount of produced units. If increase its production volume, its variable cost will increase, and if it reduce its volume of work, its variable cost will decrease. So variable cost of a company increase or decrease with its production output. Now example of variable cost include hourly wages paid to employees, the material and supplies used in product activity, in production activity. If project manager effectively manage variable cost component, then with increase in production output, it will enhance the profitability of organization. So managing variable cost effectively is essential to keep the project on budget guidelines. In project management and financial management, we also use a cost component known as sunk cost. Sunk costs are those costs that a company has spent previously, and even when company has spent those money, company is not able to find out any value to its business with that spending. So this spending that company has made previously but is not producing any value addition to present activity is known as sunk cost to the project. We hope this small learning video has explained all key component of project cost such as indirect cost, indirect cost and contingency component of cost. You could also understand that both material and labor cost have direct cost and indirect cost component. For a project cost analysis, we can also treat cost as fixed cost and variable cost, and sum of fixed and variable cost will become the total cost of project. Our other learning video of the same playlist are equally useful. You can use them in your studies or share them with your friends. And if you need exam centric dedicated notes, then do join our YouTube membership. Thank you very much. Happy learning.